followers to another broadcast of Salem Speaks. What a joy and a privilege it is once again for us to come and to be able to share these enlightening programs with you. Believe me, it is a privilege to be able to do this. Salem Speaks is an initiative of the Salem Union Baptist Church Outreach Ministries. We are a church that believes in reaching out and touching the whole man, the whole woman. And with so many things going on in our country today, the church needs to have its hand involved in it to be able to not only reach people on the inside, but to be able to reach out and touch those in our neighborhood, those who are in darkness. Those are the ones that need light, and that is what the church is here for. Well, this evening we are going to begin the first of 4 programs that we'll be doing on relationships. So many things have been going on, not only in our country, but in the entire world with respect to relationship at this particular time during the pandemic, when things are just going downhill, it seems, in relationships. So many divorces, so much strain that is going on in relationships due to lockdowns and all the other stuff that is going on. We thought that it is important enough for us to be able to shine the light on the new norm. We're going to talk about that this evening.
Amen.
And my special guest that will be speaking to us on this evening, shining the light on the new norm in health, in family, and Christian living. I am so pleased, my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, this evening, to be joined by Dr. Wayne Thompson. Dr. Thompson, it's always a pleasure to have you join us here at Salem.
Yes, Pastor, it is always a joy of mine to be with you, and a pleasant good evening to your wonderful family and the community at large.
Thank you very much. Let me just say, Dr. Thompson has a long curriculum. Yes, but I'm just going to let you know briefly about his professional qualifications. Dr. Wayne Thompson holds multiple graduate degrees in counseling, marriage, and in family life, and clinical psychology. He has his doctorate in that. And then he also has done studies in psychiatry, Doctor of Human Letters from Sojourner Douglas College for his work with disability and family life. And he holds professional memberships in the American Psychological Association, the American Counseling Association, and American Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. Once again, as we said, it's such a joy and a privilege to have someone with the kind of background knowledge, not only theory, but practical. For the many persons that Dr. Thompson sees in a day, it is truly amazing as to what is going on in relationships in this our Bahama land. And so without any further ado, I am going to just invite Dr. Thompson to come and to make his presentation. But before I do that, we want you to know that this is an interactive program.
Yes.
Dr. Thompson is here to help all of you in as many ways as he possibly can, and in order to assist you in doing that, we would love for you to send all of your questions on the various platforms. You can send it via Facebook, send it via YouTube. I'm going to get the questions right here, and when it's time, I'll just go ahead and stop him so that he can answer
Yes.
whatever questions
Yes.
you might have.
Yes.
And so, my fellow listeners, brothers and sisters, Dr. Wayne Thompson, talk to us, Doc.
Yes, thank you, my distinguished pastor. And as he has reiterated, this is interactive. So you can send your questions at any time.
Yes.
We're not going to get through everything today, but thank goodness we do have a part 2.
Right.
So we will continue the dialogue. And so the new normal, health, family, and Christian living. I was sharing with the pastor prior to us going on air. To appreciate the new normal, we gathered information from North America that keeps great statistics.
Yes.
Before COVID-19, the percentage of individuals who complained that their lives were feeling highly stressed was around 15%. Those that were experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety, around 15%. Post-COVID-19, those numbers jumped between 45 and to 70%.
Wow.
3 times, 4 times the size as normal.
Right.
What does this mean? What does this mean for your health? What does this mean for your family life, your marital relationships? And what does this mean for your Christian living? This is the dialogue we wish to have with the Bahamas. Now, rule number 1, Bahamas, we're going to talk about health first. The Bible says, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. And so good health requires an effort from you. You are responsible for your health. No one else is responsible for your health. The higher the levels of stresses go, the more you and I should be adapting to doing things to assist us with our health. You know, one of the things I found interesting was that I did research on where Jesus walked in his ministry. And some of the places that Jesus walked, today we have jets taking those routes.
Right.
In the Bible days, a day's journey was actually 20 to 25 miles. Some journeys Jesus went on was a 3-day journey. Some journeys he went on took a little longer. And so I'm saying to us, if the master who lived amongst us saw the value of walking to maintain his overall physical health and well-being, I say to you, my brothers and sisters in Christendom and in the wider community, you've got to recognize the importance of getting off of the couch and using Dr. Left and Dr. Right feet. And if you were to use those 2 doctors, I am saying to you, you will avoid having to come into the medical hub for the majority of your life. However, most of us do not do that. We live what we call a sedentary lifestyle, which means that if the tides of life come up high, it will not take much for you to drown. The new normal has caused a significant rise in stress, anxiety, and depression. Exercise and a healthy diet is one of the antidotes to stopping the overload. Our lives have been interrupted. Yeah, but Dr. Thompson, we're supposed to be believers. Yeah, but everything that is common to man is common to us. And so our lives have been interrupted. We never dreamt that we would have come to a place and a time when corporate church services will have to be put on hold, when
Yes.
public gatherings will have to be put on hold. These things create stress. What is worse about this pandemic is not only the health side, but it has also interrupted our income, our finances. And the research shows that financial stress is the granddaddy of them all. And so, for this reason, many amongst us are sick
Right.
and continuing to get sick. And you're sitting down and saying, I'm waiting for my change. Doc got news for you. The change starts with you getting up. And I say to you, sister, get up. I say to you, brother, get up and start walking. Why? Walking releases endorphins into the brain. Endorphins pushes out stress,
Right.
anxiety, and depression.
Dr. Thompson.
Wow.
Dr. Thompson.
Wow.
That's heavy. See, I want us to have an appreciation for what you were saying,
Yes.
so that you are actually presenting health reasons now, because
Yes.
all of these are related to what kind of relationship, what kind of person you are going to be when you interact with the other person.
Amen. I am sorry. If your stress is high, you're going to have irritated mood. You're going to have bad mood. You're going to have short of patience. Yeah, and you looking for husband, need to go fly kite. I'm sorry about that. No, I ain't sorry. Listen to me, my brothers and sisters. When you have crisis, if you are not managing your relationship with yourself, your ability to have cohesive relationships with others are diminished.
Okay.
And this is why we're having so many complaints. And I can tell you from the lockdown, many spouses who were not spending time with each other and are now forced to share the same space, they deeply stressed out. They don't know each other. People change, and it is creating a tremendous amount of stress. I say to you, you can begin the process of detoxing yourself from the stress.
Yes. Thank you, Doc.
Well-being is a state that we can all achieve, but it cannot survive with someone that suffers from a negative mentality. Oh my goodness. What is a negative mentality? Thank you for asking. People who criticize, people who backbite, people who find fault, people who always speaking doom and gloom, that speaks to a negative mentality. So your capacity to have a sense of well-being cannot thrive in that environment. As a man thinketh, so is he. Your thoughts, you believe, are hidden, but your thoughts will expose through your life just what you are thinking. You are responsible for your thoughts. No one else is. Pastor, when I was a young boy, I used to think that people were looking at me to tease me because of my deformed hand. The truth of the matter is that was a problem I had in my thinking. After I addressed my thinking, I recognized that the problem was not outside, but the problem was inside. I say to you, believers, do not be too proud and boastful to recognize that you may have an issue. There isn't anything wrong with us having issues, but there is something wrong with us pretending that we do not have issues. Now, when stress comes on, the best way to describe the pressure of stress is like diving underwater. The deeper you go in the water, the more pressure you feel against your body.
Right.
This is what stress does. So if you stay deep too long, what will eventually happen, Pastor? The pressure will cause one part of the body, I don't know which part, but whichever part is weakest, the cells in that area will begin to break down first. But persons who walk exercise their lungs. Those persons whose lungs are strong can go deeper and can stay longer and can manage the pressure better. This means that when they have a marital problem, they don't blow their fuse quickly. They have a higher level of tolerance. They can sit down.
Right.
They can discuss issues without getting worked up. But persons who are not fit blow their gaskets quickly.
Okay, so I want to get back on
Yes.
that one more time because we have not spoken, Doc, so much about the spiritual fundamentals of relationship. We are just here talking
On the
physical,
health, the
on the
physical
health.
side. That's right.
And so these are some of the things that we want to get across to people, that life must be lived holistically.
Amen.
And that all of these things assist us
Yes.
in living a better life and
Yes.
having better relationships.
Relationships. Pastor, I would like for you and your audience to visualize it this way. Man is a spiritual being, a physical being, an emotional being.
Right.
If I invest 95% of my time in my spiritual being, my spiritual being could be strong, but the physical being so weak I can't walk to the door. I can't think. And what we're saying to the public at large is that the same enthusiasm with which we go after God and the nurturing of the word, we need to go after that in other areas of our being.
Right.
God wants us to be whole and complete, spiritually, physically, and emotionally / mentally.
I wish above all things that you prosper and be in
and
health,
it's okay.
even as you
Thank you.
prosper spiritually.
Even.
Yes.
And you have to pay attention to yourself.
Right.
You know, I wanted to dispel a myth. They call blood pressure the silent killer. It's not fully accurate. Actually, when your pressure starts to go up, if you are in tune to your body, if you have a relationship with your body, you actually will feel a unique type of pain that is similar to a headache, but it is slightly different. However, if you ignore it long enough, you will learn to live with it, and the signal will stop going off. But you get this signal from the inbuilt system God designed.
Right.
Perfectly created. The warning signs goes off to tell you you need to check something.
Right.
But if you are complacent with your health, if you don't check, if you eat junk 24/7, the signal can't get through the maze.
Right.
But when you eat balance, when you learn to rest, when you learn to let go of things, the signal reaches you quickly.
Right. So that it is not as silent as you were thinking. It actually is giving you signals if you are paying attention.
Pastor, that's what I want folks to know. When you speak a whole lot like I do, it does elevate your pressure. I can actually tell when I'm getting close to the threshold. The signal goes off. When the signal goes off, I have a specific routine that I use to assist me with that. We want people to know that Dr. Left and Dr. Right feet are with you every day. They do not require an appointment. You can go and use them whenever you wish, for as long as you wish.
Right.
What a wonderful gift from God.
Yeah, let me throw a question
Sure.
in that someone might have. We haven't gotten any yet, but
Sure.
what would you say, Dr. Thompson, as we speak about the physical and the spiritual.
Yes.
What would you say are the ingredients for a successful relationship? Because you see, I think a lot of people want no one goes into relationship for it to be unsuccessful.
No, they don't
Nobody
want it to be.
goes into
Thank you.
relationship
Thank you,
to
Pastor.
break up.
They don't want a
Everybody
disaster.
goes in because
They want success.
they want success. But I don't know that they recognize
What is
the
it?
ingredients. What are the fundamentals of relationship and how to make it successful?
The foundation of a healthy relationship is good mental health. The physical part of the relationship, to talk, to communicate, to plan, to discuss, to work through things, requires good mental health. Without good mental health, you do not have the capacity to build a good relationship. Now, relationships are not only physical. Good mental health is the prerequisite for spiritual health. If I am not sound in my mind and in my thinking, the joys and the blessings and the truths of God cannot stay in me, nor will I be able to comprehend them. It is like me trying to put new wine in an old wine skin. What happens to the old wine skin? It's going to burst and explode because the requirements that are necessary to contain the wine have not been met. So, for relationships to be successful, you must have good mental health. What is the proof of you having good mental health? You'll be patient. You'll be kind. You'll be thoughtful. You'll be considerate. You don't jump to conclusions. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You feeling me, Bahamas? I didn't say you don't get upset. But when you have good health, even when you are upset, you are under control. But those that do not have good physical health, good spiritual health, they get irate, they get obnoxious, they get angry. These things destroy relationships. Right now, as we're going through COVID, in many homes, one of the spouses has lost an income for months. To be able to sit down to the table and rediscuss finances requires good mental, emotional, spiritual health. Unfortunately, most couples, even Christian couples, cannot sit down and discuss money. Okay? And so we are being challenged on every side.
Right.
And as a result of this, it is causing problems to arise in marriage and in family life. And this is why programs like this are designed to give you hope and clarity of direction as to what you should do.
Yeah, you mentioned in that, Dr. Thompson, that you find that even Christian couples
Yes, sir.
are having their difficulties.
Yes.
Shouldn't the Christian, the believer who has foundation with Christ, who has what we would term or ought to have good spiritual health, why do you see what is that bump in the road for the believer that at this time now find themselves going through, I wouldn't say going through issues because all of us go through issues, but why are they not making it?
That's an extremely good question, Pastor.
Yes.
The Bible speaks about 10 virgins. If you look closely at them, they all were dressed appropriately. They gave the indication then that they were all sound and had good, strong foundation. As a matter of fact, all 10 of them even had lamps. But upon closer examination, we noticed that 5 of them did not have oil in their lamps. What this means then is that there are many amongst us who have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. Let me break it down. The power of God here means to think, to plan, and to act accordingly so you are never caught unawares. So what is happening to many Christians during this time? They attend church. They dress well. They drive luxury vehicles. They look as if they are ready for the bridegroom to call and to give any assignment. But the minute a crisis arises, you soon get to realize that that is only a form. That is only a shell.
Right.
This is why we are talking to you this way today, because Christians need to recognize successful Christian living is not about things. Successful living, Christian living means living within your means and being at peace with it. Wow. This is the season for the families to tweak things and to reduce things so that they can survive on the smaller income that is available. Now, if you have Christian grace, you don't have a problem reducing things. But I can tell you, Pastor, if you don't have Christian grace, you don't want to reduce things. As a matter of fact, during COVID, you want to upsize things. And so the fruit will reveal what is actually in your foundation. And this is why the Bahamas is struggling now. Let's just be candid.
Yeah.
We would give Bahamas #1 for being the best dressed people in the region. We'll give the Bahamas #1 for having the most luxurious types of vehicles. But now when it comes down to financial management, send them to the back of the line. COVID has come to educate us and to teach us we need to realign our priorities.
Right.
And the humble child shall taste the grace of God. Grace is speaking to the world now, saying, set your house in order. And those of us who have the right foundation have begun to trim the fat, the excess things that are no longer necessary. And if we were to do that as a people, we can navigate through the difficult season of the pandemic.
What do you say to that couple out there, Dr. Thompson? They're going through all kinds of stresses in their marriage at this time. As a matter of fact, they were going through stress in their relationship prior
to COVID. COVID has just exacerbated it.
Yes, or it is manifesting some things that were hiding. What advice do you give to that lady? I'll give you an example.
Sure.
I was reading of an article the other day, and this lady said because of COVID that her husband lost his job.
Yes.
So her husband was home taking care of their child while she still had a job.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
She said she went to work every day as normal.
Yes.
But her husband expected her to come home and to do all of the things
she used to
do
while he was at work.
While he was at work. And she said it is causing so much pressure. She said, as soon as I get an opportunity, as soon as COVID breaks, I'm going to divorce him. What do you say to someone who's planning to say, listen, I've had enough and I just can't take it anymore?
Pastor, that's a powerful area because I'd like to share some information. Here's what we know. If a husband loses his income, and he loses his income for an extended period, say 6 to 12 months, the chances of that marriage surviving is slim to none because of the significant weight that is placed on the man in the context of the family.
Right.
So if a woman loses her job, the weight that is placed on the family is not the same because the husband is deemed to be the first to take the lead as the servant leader.
Right.
It's very interesting how the psyche works.
Right.
The woman loses the job, all is still well.
Right.
The husband loses the job, it is marched to the divorce court. It is because many of these individuals have not built their relationship into becoming one.
Right.
They are still two separate individuals cohabitating together.
Right.
And unless you become a team prior to crisis,
Right.
you will not become a team during
crisis.
the crisis. To the couple out there who are struggling and not sure what to do, Dr. Thompson says, be bold enough to sit down with pen and paper and honestly write out all of the things that you are facing and the things that are causing you stress. After you would have done that, honestly ask yourself if you have the capacity to resolve these things on your own.
Right.
If the answer to that is no, have the courage then to seek intervention and help. The Bible says we have not because we ask not. One of the things I have found in Christendom is that our pride levels are too high. And Christians need to know that their relationship with God has nothing to do with the crisis going on planet Earth. But too many of them associate salvation with things. Salvation is not about things. Another piece of advice, stop testifying about car and house and boat in church. Salvation is for the soul, not for things.
Right. Right.
Recognize that it is okay to be afraid, to be upset, because your life has been disrupted.
Right.
But you must develop resilience.
Right.
Couples that develop resilience find a way to navigate through the storm to come out on the other side.
Yeah.
For example, my wife and I used to have two separate cars for 29 years. For 29 years. However, for the past 6 years, we have reduced that to one in preparation for the next season of life. Christians are supposed to operate in the light, not in the dark. I am blown away by people who are in their 50s, who believe that they are 20, who believe that they will then be on the job until they are 80. And so they operate with recklessness. Many of the problems that come to our people has to do with the choices they have made and nothing else and nothing more.
Right.
The older you get, the less you need. But I've noticed something unique in the Bahamas. The older people get, the more some of them want. In other words, you're waiting until your late 50s to build a 6,000 square foot home. You lived in a 1,500 square foot home for 30 years. Now, you're 1 year away from retirement. You need a 6,000 square foot home.
Yeah, they call it a retirement home.
Yeah, that's only, retirement home to bring people in it. Okay, oh, that must be a retirement home to bring people in.
I always think about that because people want to build a retirement home, a big one, like you said.
Yeah.
And not appreciating that big retirement home carries a big maintenance bill and you don't have
Yes.
income coming in to be able to support it many times.
Yes, you've worked for 30 years and you drove a nice middle class vehicle that was sturdy and able to get you to and from work, air conditioned, everything
Right.
working. But you wait until the year before your retirement to buy a vehicle that costs six figures.
Right.
You're not well. I said you're not well.
Right.
And you see, you must understand, Pastor, not because somebody can go to work means that they are well.
Right. Right.
Your decision making will determine whether or not you are well.
Right.
5 of those virgins look well,
Right.
but when crunch time came, it was evident that 5 of them were not well.
Right.
Well, I will say this then, 50% of the people that we think are well are not well.
I hear you. I got a question. Let me just pop in a
Sure.
question from our audience. The question says, normally my husband and I have very busy lives. Now we are both working from home.
Yes.
We are struggling spending all of this time together. We are annoying each other. Any tips?
Yes. And by the way, that's a beautiful couple. And just so you know, if you do have to have your space invaded 24/7 by your spouse,
Right.
you will annoy them and they will annoy you and you'll get on each other's nerve. One of the things that should happen is you need to divide the home up to where this area is the husband's space, this area is the wife's space. So when each of them feels a need for their own space and time, they should be allowed to go there without any kind of negative connotation attached to them.
Right. All right, so let me stop there. So there's nothing wrong. Let me see how I can put it. There's nothing wrong for a husband and a wife in a good relationship at home to not want to be in each other's space 24/7.
That
It's
is
all right for
correct.
me to have my man cave.
Yes, that is correct. To think that you should be in each other's company 24/7, up under each other's 24/7, is actually delusional. Okay? So you must give space to individuality.
Okay.
You are still 2 separate individuals. Okay? One spouse may like to read. The other spouse may like to chat. Well, if you are in your chatting mood and we've already spoken for 3 hours, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, please go to your corner and call your sister, call your auntie, and talk to them until you have been filled. See, you have variations. Okay? If I am in the mood now for my sports, I should be allowed to go and watch my sports. I do not have to do every single thing with my spouse 24/7. So that couple needs to know they need to create some space.
Okay.
And that is not ungodly. And that is not unchristian. That is called human.
Right.
Psychologically speaking, human beings must have their own private space.
Right.
Once you overly invade a human being's private space, you will change them.
Okay.
In England, in the building of an upscale subdivision, they built the housing for the workers first. Listen to this. What was unique was that the spacing between the houses for the workers was greater than the spacing between the upscale homes. When persons came to buy, they opted for the smaller house that gave them more distance from the other people. When people get overcrowded, they become obnoxious, they become irritable, they become irate.
Okay.
Parents who may say their children are becoming rude has to do with the fact that if you're going to helicopter over them all day, all night long, and don't give space for their individuality, allow them to rumble and tumble and to do what boys do and to do what kids do, they want to chat with their friend. Who that is you talking to? Because you happen to be home. you are damaging and destroying relationships.
Okay.
Healthy relationships require interaction and individuation.
And yes, yes.
Individuation means that I need time to work on my relationship with myself so that I can be at peace with myself. And so when I am at peace with myself, when it's time to engage, I can fully engage with the other person.
Wonderful. And good. I got something, and my wife listening to that as well. So the next question that I wanted to ask as a result of that is, seeing that, as you mentioned, that 50% of persons more than likely are not healthy
Yeah, they're not well, Pastor.
in church, right?
No, they're not well.
And so, and with that in mind, we bring on now COVID-19, right?
That is correct.
And so we should have expected then, I'm talking about the health of the country now.
That is correct.
So with what has been going on for the past 7 months then, it speaks then to what is actually, this shouldn't be a surprise then.
No.
As to
No.
talk about that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, non-communicable diseases, hypertension, cholesterol, diabetes, those three actually do not require medical management. If you are practicing well-being and you are having a healthy relationship with yourself, you're supposed to be able to manage those things. In this country, the vast majority of individuals do not manage it. Those three things, if any person has one of them and they got one of the severe strands of COVID-19, they are in a crisis immediately. So, put simplistically, Pastor, COVID-19 is inflammatory. So what it does is anything you have, it blows it up 10 times bigger.
Right.
So if you were someone that has been obese for 25 years and you were getting by and you got COVID-19, COVID-19 will shut you down. If you were someone who wasn't paying attention to the signals of hypertension and you got COVID-19, COVID-19 will put you down. It will knock you out. In some cases, it'll take your life. And so we've got to recognize that Bahamians have been practicing unhealthy lifestyles for years.
Right.
For example, we have been listed as #1 in the Caribbean for type 2 diabetes
Right.
for years now. Type 2 diabetes means that you eating too much and eating too much of the wrong stuff. That medical condition has been brought on by what you put in your mouth. Okay? Ain't no hospital responsible for that. Ain't no job responsible for that. Your personal lack of management is responsible for that. I'll raise another issue. Bahamians in this country consume too much alcohol. Alcohol is 99% sugar. Sugar is the worst food on the planet. It is literally the worst food on the planet. And so we are in the season where the planet is trying to realign itself because of the damage we have done to it. And in the process of this ginormous realignment, many things are going to be flaring up. Only those who are fit, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, will be able to navigate this new turn.
Right. And then take that to the spiritual level now in relationship. The lockdowns over the past 7 months, based on what we spoke about a little earlier with getting in one another's space.
Yes.
So it isn't strange then, as I would ask you, that you are having to see more and more couples now.
Yes,
who
no.
are having these
having
issues.
challenges. No,
Yes.
it's not strange.
Speak to that person out there who is.
It's
They
not
can't.
strange.
They can't come to Nassau to see you. So
Yeah.
see if you could help them now, wherever they are, as to why are they feeling the way they're feeling there on that island or wherever?
Those of you who are feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling like you're drowning and you feel like you have no more privacy, a lot of that is as a result of what the pandemic has done. Your home space feels like it's invaded. You feel like you have nothing that belongs to you anymore. How do you cope with it? Rule number one, do not live in denial of what you are feeling. And it is not wrong for you to feel that way. Rule number two, recognize it, sit down, make notes about it. Then sit down and have a discussion with your spouse or your children who live with you regarding these things. And number three, recognize then the need for a division of space so that you can now begin to operate in such a way that you gain some semblance of control over something in your life.
Right.
For example, one issue that pops up a lot that people never give attention to. I'm ready to go into the bathroom to bathe, but you are already in there first. And so let's make a decision. Who's going to bathe first? The other person then should go walking. Go for the walk to allow the other person to fully relax, but not be outside huffing and puffing. You ain't finished yet? The person no longer feels that they are enjoying their alone time whilst bathing.
Right.
Many grown adults use that time to meditate, to think about things in their life. But if you are harassing them, you are destroying that peace and tranquility that they need. See, these are small tips that you can practice, but you will be shocked to see what a tremendous difference they make. Rotate on household chores. We each have chores that we like and we do not like. One person should not be stuck with a chore that they do not like every single time. Let us be thoughtful and considerate.
What about the now, Doc? In our in our country, we have certain cultural we call them cultural norms.
I am so sorry.
Okay? And the cultural norm is that
Certain
man,
tasks.
I don't wash dishes, right? Or women, there are certain things that you are supposed to do, and if you don't do it, woman, you being disobedient.
I am so,
Talk to that man or that woman.
I am
there,
so
Doc.
sorry, but that ideology is now in the Smithsonian Institute, which you can find in Washington, D.C. It is no longer relevant to our times. This is why Ephesians chapter 5 never details household chores. That was never in the mind of God. You want to know why? Because two competent, mature people that have the mind of Christ and the blood of Jesus Christ on the doorposts of their heart are supposed to be able to sit down and to discuss and to navigate household chores. This is why each couple is supposed to decide for themselves what is considered best for them, regardless of what Grammy and great-Grammy and great-grandpa those did. What worked in that generation does not necessarily work in this generation.
Right.
And we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Now, I say to you who want to hold on to that, you've got to recognize that times have changed. And as a result of times changing, here is one simple, powerful truth. Both spouses are now in the workforce.
Right.
In that time, only one spouse was in the workforce.
Right.
Let us be very clear.
Yes.
Okay? So if the wife was the spouse that was at home, that is the principal reason why she did all of those things that are at home. But ever since the Industrial Revolution, women have been added to the workplace.
Right.
So if you wish to have that kind of ideology, then Dr. Thompson suggests that you get married to someone that went as far as K5 and will simply just be happy to say for the record they are married. That is not how you build relationships. But you see, to have this discussion that I am talking about requires good mental health.
Yes. Okay. I have another question coming in,
Sure.
Doc. So let's do this one before we get ready to wrap up in a few minutes. Time goes by quickly.
Yes.
How do we create an atmosphere where people feel like they can share and talk about their issues?
Wow.
If it was not a place
Wow.
of clear communication.
Well, first of all, even if your vocabulary is not strong, that's not an issue. But that first part is critically important.
Yeah, create
One
an
of the
atmosphere.
biggest problems is that in many marriages, in many relationships, and in many families, the environment is not safe for them to honestly discuss their thoughts and feelings without conjecture, without ridicule, and without criticism. I would just like for you to know, if you are in a marriage and you cannot discuss your thoughts and feelings without feeling criticized, minimized, and put down, that tells Dr. Thompson that you are in a dysfunctional marriage. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. 50% of all of these situations are dysfunctional. And this is what is causing lots of problems. A home is supposed to be a safe haven. A safe haven means that all who reside there can feel safe to discuss and talk about anything without it being hung over their heads. A home is not a military base. Let me say that again. A home is not a military base where a commander is dishing out orders to wife and children. Okay? That kind of environment is simply not healthy at all. If you want to create a loving environment, first become an ambassador of love. Be patient, be kind, be open. Stop jumping to conclusions. Stop getting upset if the other person's viewpoint is different from yours. People who are not well always need you to agree with them. People who are well recognize there is nothing wrong with their spouse or their children seeing something differently from them. When you are in a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, a healthy family environment, acceptance is what is key, not rejection. And too many of our relationships in homes, it's all about criticism and rejection. This is what we do to force people our way. I am sorry, none of that is of God.
Well, my brothers and sisters and listening audience, believe it or not, our time has gone just like that. And Dr. Thompson, I know you didn't get to half of the material that you wanted to discuss.
But that's
But
okay.
thank God we have part two coming up next week.
Yes.
And we'll see what we can do about that
Amen.
in part two, because we have some very interesting things coming up in this relationship forum, because notice I did not even touch certain things with you because I'm leaving it for
Yes. Sure.
another speaker actually.
Sure.
Because in our country and in our world today, relationships are formed now not so much because of God's idea,
No.
but because of how we see things in our cultural norms.
That is correct.
And we're going to be dealing with that in a program coming up, because people have lost sense of identity.
Well, this is what has happened. But remember, before you can lose the sense of identity, you must first not be sound. Once you are not sound, you now can be fed a strange doctrine. And we have strange doctrines popping up into the world like popcorn. But I am not surprised. You want to know why? My Bible told me that these will be some of the markings to tell us we are heading to the close of the age.
Yes.
Men shall become lovers of their own selves more than lovers of God. This means that flesh and pleasure is how decisions are made. Oh boy.
Well,
Oh
my
boy.
brothers and sisters, thank you so very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Thompson, for sharing in this in part one
Yeah.
of Salem Speaks. I want to invite all of you to please invite a friend next week to join you as we go into part two of this discussion on relationships
Yeah.
and family health.
Yes.
Believe me, it is going to be a blessing. And so, on behalf of my guests and my producers here at Salem Speaks, thank you so very much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. God bless you.
God bless.